How are we? And welcome to another build video in Clover Retribution. I figured I liked doing the last one. It was a lot of fun to actually get back into making content once again. So I figured, why not? We'll give it another crack. We'll do another video on Clover Retribution and show off another build that I've been having a lot of fun with recently. So let's get right into that. Starting with the magic here. We're going to be using Lightning 4-Leaf. For those that don't know, Lightning 4-Leaf is one of my favourite magics ever. I love Luck from the anime. I love the way that magic looks. I love the cool gauntlets, the boots. Pretty much it's my favourite magic. I love using lightning, despite how lackluster it really is in this game, but we'll get into that anyway. Next, I've got High Elf. Again, it's kind of mimicking Luck, which is why I have named the build after Luck Volita, which I think, or Voltia, I think that's how you say it. I'm horrible with pronunciation, but that's besides the point. We picked High Elf, and again, we'll get into that in a minute. And then finally, Boss Slayer. Now, this is not the trait I want, however, I do not own the trait that I want. As you can see here, there is one mythic missing here, and it's the one that I want. Unfortunately, RNG says no, so we're going to deal with Boss Slayer, but I will explain that when we get into the game. So without further ado, let me just do that. Alright, so getting into the build. Obviously, as I said, this build completely revolves around Lightning 4-Leaf. Now, for this build, you are going to need the 4-Leaf variant to be like Luck. It is the only variant that comes with the move, Thunder God Attire, which I'll get into in just a second. It's the only variant that comes with that move, therefore you need 4-Leaf for this build to, really be Luck. Unfortunately, there's not really much with Lightning. I know it's only an epic magic, but when you look at it in comparison to Flame, it's pretty lackluster in comparison. 4 moves, doesn't really do much damage, which is one of my issues with it, but it doesn't stop me from enjoying using it, so I'm still going to use it. So let's start it off with the main attraction. We're going to start it off with Thunder God's Attire. Now this is the move that you unlock with, I believe, about 95 mastery. I could be wrong. I'll flash a little card up on screen now that just kind of shows you it. But this is the move. Bearing in mind that this is the move fully mastered, which again is something I will recommend you to do for this build. You can use it without, but personally I like this because it scales the mana drain lower. It scales it at max clovers to 11 per tick. I believe at 0 clovers it is 22 mana per tick rather than 11. So very, very useful to have that. As you can see, I don't have any kind of extra mana regeneration buffs, and it's still not really draining all that fast with the stat points I have in, so it's nice to have. Essentially this mode, what it does is it allows you to move a lot quicker and deal M1 damage based on your intelligence rather than anything else. So you'll see it has its own little combo that it does, which is very nice. And it also has, as you can see here on the right hand side, its own little move, which just is basically the sword triple hit. So, if you want to do like 1, 2, boom, 1, 2, 3, you know what I mean? It's a little combo. It doesn't really do all that much, but it works the same way that the sword one does, basically. In this mode, when you have it mastered, as you can see, I have this big ring of lightning around me. What this does is when there's an enemy in the vicinity, it has a random chance to just drop a lightning bolt on their head. Now, this isn't really useful for damage per se. It does help when it just like randomly happens while you're kind of trying to deal DPS. It's a nice little added, but I like it because it has the chance, just like with Lightning Strike here, has the chance to apply the shocked debuff to an enemy, which makes your moves do more damage from, I think it's 1 to 8 times damage, depending on the amount of stacks that you have, which I think it stacks up to 5, but the amount of stacks of shock, I believe that's how it works. Again, I'll flash another flash card up on screen right now, just so you know exactly what I'm talking about. But essentially, the shock debuff is very, very nice. So you want to be proccing it as much as possible with this build, because it will just help with the DPS output, and again, lightning needs it. It doesn't have that high DPS, in my opinion anyway, not compared to things like Void and Light and Flame 5-leaf or 4-leaf, whatever version you use. But yeah, that's the mode. Moving on to the moves, they're all kind of useful, except from Circus in their own regard. Lightning Strike I like to use to just kind of, it deals a decent amount of damage. I think it's about 70 if I'm not mistaken. Just a decent amount of damage. But the reason I like it is because it allows you to apply shocked from a distance. So, you know, before you start a fight, you know, you're running in to fight someone, you can use it, boom, shock them with that, quite nice. Or even if you're trying to get an M1 combo off, something that I've noticed is if you're like PvPing or you're fighting a humanoid NPC, the sort of ones that will run around and try and chase you, you can lightning strike them, then dash in and hit them with an M1 string because it will stun them. So it doesn't knock them back, it will stun them in place, which is really nice. Not for a very long time, but it is extremely nice for you to then, like I said, be able to shock them, dash in, and then just get your little combo off, whatever you like. Quite nice. Lightning Circus, as I said, not really a very good move. Way too long startup for way too little damage. The only funny thing about it is if you hit a player with it or another humanoid NPC, it flings them, and I have no idea why, but it does. It just sends them flying about 400 fucking feet for no reason. But other than that, it's kind of, it's okay, but it's honestly, it's the worst move out of the kit. It is the worst move by far. Moving on to Thunder God's Fall, however, this move is very good. And not because it deals like ridiculous damage, because it doesn't really. Even with my setup currently, it only deals about 37-ish, you know, nothing crazy, but, you know, per tick, that is. But the reason I like it is because it makes you invulnerable when you're using it, which, when you're fighting endgame content, is so nice for breaking shields. Like, honestly, it's one of my favourite things to do. You know, for example, let's come in here, let's see, I'll pop my mode, and I'm fighting this ogre. Boom, boom, you know, fight the ogre, boom. And he's kicking my ass, or whatever. Right, I need to break his shield, right? So all I have to do is use Thunder God's Fall, and as you'll notice, I don't take any HP or take any damage whilst in that move. So now, he's down, he's stunned, he can't do anything, and I can proceed to just wail on him, like so. You know, there you go, boom. It's not got such a long cooldown as well. I think it's about something like 25 seconds. It's not too crazy, you know, of a cooldown. So it's nice to just be able to have ready for that shield phase when you're fighting Scorpions or Anubis or whatever it is you're fighting. It's nice to have to be able to deal that damage without being hurt. Moving on to the race here. I have picked High Elf again, mainly because it relates with luck. That's the reason I want to have it, because, you know, it's luck Voltia. I want the whole build to basically be him. But it also has a nice magic buff. I believe it is, let me see here, yes, 8% magic damage buff, which is nice. It also gives you +5 intelligence, and it also gives you a nice plus 15% added onto your mana total, which is also nice. You know, a little bit extra mana, a little bit extra int, and then a nice 8% damage bonus, which again, lightning needs, because love of God, this magic does no damage. And last but not least, trait. Now, as I said earlier, I don't have the trait I want to use for this build. I do not have Mystical Eyes. Mystical Eyes is the trait I would recommend. I just don't have it. Essentially what Mystical Eyes does, it gives you a load of stat buffs. I think it gives you +8 stat points into int, con and strength, which is nice, but that's not what you want. It also gives you the 10% damage bonus and 10% bonus to your max mana. But what you want is the passive, because the passive, essentially what it does, will accumulate 15 percent of your damage over 5 stacks. I don't know if you've ever seen it used, but it has like a little kind of like red balls here and a little arch over the over your level here. And once you reach 5 stacks, your next hit will deal 15% of those stacks combined. So all of the damage you just dealt with all 5 of those stacks will be added together, and 15% of that damage will then be applied to the enemy on the next hit, which I keep saying luck, for lightning will be extremely helpful for damage output, because you really do need it. Now, as I've said, I don't have it, so there are alternatives you can use. Personally, for me, as you can see here from my trait list, I am using Boss Slayer. This is because it gives you a nice, just flat 20% bonus damage when attacking a boss or elite type enemy. For those of you who don't know, boss or elite type enemy, a boss is one that has these big HP bars and the percentage on them when you deal damage to them. An elite enemy is essentially just one that I believe there's a marker for them. It's a little red marker. I think Alpha Wolf has the marker. It's a little red boss icon, essentially. Essentially, it's just any enemy that is powerful. You know, so it's not going to be a wolf. It's not going to be your bandits. It's not going to be, you know, your wind monks. It's going to be the big boys. But that's nice, because if you're like me and you're an endgame, you don't fight them anyway. So you don't care. Unless you're doing Grimoire Gauntlet, pretty much running Boss Slayer is fine. And, you know, in some cases, could probably be better than running Mystical Eyes. Another trait you could run, MR is always nice. It's always good for that 50% mana and plus 10 to the regen rate. But to be honest with you, even without it, your mana ticks on max, your mana drain, on max golden clovers isn't even that bad. Like, I can still use moves, I can still spam all my moves like so. Use that, you know, and it's only taken, what, maybe a fifth, if that, from doing that, and as you can see, it's kind of fighting to keep itself up. It will kind of take 11 and then put 11 back, which is quite funny. But yeah, the mana drain isn't bad enough with the mode at max clovers that you need to worry about it. Maybe if you don't have max clovers yet, running MR might be a good idea, just to kind of try and make sure it doesn't. Or you can run, there's I think it's called Arcane Zenith. There's a trait called Arcane Zenith that I believe is a 30% reduction to all mana costs. So you could run that as well. That would do basically the same thing. Make it so that it doesn't take a lot of mana to use. But again, not really necessary. Coming on to stat distribution here. Again, if you watched my last video, you're going to know what this is going to be. 60% in intelligence, 40% of your stat points in con. This is literally just because giving yourself Arcane Insight will give you a massive magic damage bonus. I didn't cover this last time, but because it was a healing build, but having Arcane Insight gives you a massive magic damage bonus once you are below 50% HP, I want to say. Again, another flashcard will be up on screen right now. You'll be able to read it and know exactly. But it gives you a nice buff once you hit that 50% mark on your HP, which again is really good for fighting and, you know, just DPS values in general. Really helpful to have. Again, I'm not going to tell you that you can't put more points in con, or you can't run con as your primary stat, but for this build you are definitely going to want some variation of intelligence and con. That is most definitely what you're going to want. In terms of gear and weaponry, to be honest with you, you don't need a staff. You do not need a good staff, because you're going to be using Thunder God's Attire, so you won't have a chance to use your staff unless your mode runs out. You should be fine without it anyway, but, you know, unless your mode runs out, you're not going to be using it. You don't need it. So again, because of that, you also won't need the Arcanist class if you don't have it. It's not necessary. And again, for armor, I'm still using Tidescale. Again, in the last video, I used Tidescale armor. It's just the best armor I have, because I can't get anything better. Drop rates hate me. But, you know, if you have, you know, like the Void Steel armor, or you have You want to run Arcanist Fur Mantle for that extra little bit of damage. I think it gives about 6% damage bonus. You can run that too if you want to really bump your values up. I just like this for the nice 30 con, 5 int, and Tenacity and Red's Blessing, which again are just both really nice traits to have. Anyway, without further ado, I'm just going to rock on over to Scorpions, or an enemy of some variation, just to try and showcase the build and kind of show you what I mean when I say it's not that great damage, but you can kind of get it there, if you know what I mean. Anyway, let's go and do that. Alright, back to the old stomping grounds. Again, I've decided to come over here to Scorpions, because like I said, I feel like it's a good baseline test for, well, anything for that matter. They're just the enemies that I feel like are the easiest to kind of showcase magics with. So, in terms of using this magic, you want to make sure you are in mode at all times, because you're going to be using those M1s, and you're going to want the nice little lightning procs to happen whenever they can. And it's nice to be able to combo stuff if you're fighting humanoid enemies. You know, you want to use Lightning Hunt, you can. That's what you want to be doing. But essentially, when it comes to fighting, Thunder God's Fall is going to be your best ally, as well as your M1s. You're going to want to Lightning Strike to attempt to apply the shocked buff, which you'll see it has applied if it has little lightning around the enemy. It hasn't applied there, but that's fine. You want to kind of do M1s, and then for Scorpions, literally just sit here and use this. As you can see, they can't hit me, they can't do damage while I'm in it, which is fine. What then you want to do is just kind of dodge around like you normally would, and try and just wait out your cooldowns, essentially. It's not a great magic to solo stuff with. You can mix in Lightning Strike, and it will kind of work. Once you've got them down, just start trying to deal as much consecutive damage as you can. You're probably better off mixing in Lightning Hunt and Lightning Strike here, rather than trying to use Thunder God's Fall. As again, like I said, the damage isn't that great. The M1 damage on your mode, however, is, I think, if I'm not correct here, yeah, 83.3 with my current setup. Obviously, like I said, if you have Mystical Eyes, it will do more. But try to basically stack as many shot debuffs as you can on the enemy whilst dealing damage. And then, like I said, all you got to do, essentially, is just, once their shield comes back up, if you've got Thunder God's Fall off of cooldown, just pop it straight away. Doesn't matter. You just their shield needs to go down anyway. You just might as well use it. Pop that, goes down, boom, attack the enemy, and then you basically just rinse and repeat that. As you can see from just the damage I'm dealing, it's not that great. Like, if you're running Dark Health and Flame, you do so much more damage than this with so much less effort. But unfortunately, Lightning is just worse objectively than those magics. Doesn't mean you can't have fun with it, but it's not better than those magics, and I don't think it ever will be unless it receives a buff. But as you can see here, it's still doing really decent damage, really solid damage. You know, if you're like me and you've fought enough of these idiot fucking things to know the parry timings and the dodge timings and stuff, you'll be fine. You will be fine. It's not going to cause you any issues, fighting them. You'll be perfectly fine. You can just keep cycling, like so. Keep doing that. Should have parried that, really, but, sometimes you get lucky and dodge it. And then you just keep on keeping on. Boom, boom, boom. Probably won't actually kill him here, which is annoying, but, oh no, there we go. Lovely. And then there you go. Obviously I died during that fight, but as you can see, even in the second half of that fight, we're only down to about half mana, which I think isn't bad drain, in terms of the fact that you have something draining your mana and you're using your moves. So I feel like that's pretty decent, all things considered. Anyway, that concludes this build video. A little bit shorter than the last one, but there's a lot less that you really need to go over with Lightning. Essentially, all you need to know is that you need 4-leaf. 4-leaf is necessary. I would go with High Elf to try and bump damage, but honestly, use anything that boosts its damage. Anything you can get your hands on that will boost the damage, use it. The new Solian race, I don't have it yet, so I can't use it, but that would be perfect. It gives a damage buff. I would use that if you have it, you know. I personally just like to use high elf because it matches with the whole luck theme. And also I don't have Solian. But, you know, we cope. We cope, we mould, we seethe. But yeah, that's it for this build. If you enjoyed, feel free to leave a like rating. Or leave a comment below telling me that you enjoyed the video. It would be nice to know that, you know, that someone out there has enjoyed the video. But you know, leave a like rating, and if you want to subscribe, by the looks of it, I'm going to be doing more of these in the future. I did really enjoy the last one, and I've really enjoyed this one too. I just really enjoy sharing my builds and kind of giving you guys an insight into some of the stuff that I use. And again, to try and inspire maybe you guys to go out there and to make your own build, whatever it might be. But yeah, thank you for watching, and that's going to be all for this one. Bye bye.